Hello, Civil War students. We're in our last week of course and the shortest reading that we have yet. So really, this week the focus is on the end of the war, which at this point is sort of inevitable, what's going to happen after the war, and although the book doesn't really go into much detail about this idea of Reconstruction, there's an allusion to what Lincoln wants. He doesn't want to punish the South. He wants to give the South an opportunity to almost repent for their sins in sort of a biblical sense, saying that if the South is punished and their economy is destroyed, then aren't we just as bad as our enemies? Aren't we putting them into a situation where they're not going to recover, and then we're pulling in these weaker states that are not going to help our future? So Lincoln's belief is that if Southerners, the only way to connect Southerners back to the United States, to the Union, is to give them a sense of unionness, of connection to the United States, of that they're not being stepped on and they're not second-class citizens. That'd be no different than how they treated slaves for us to treat them that way. Whereas the radicals in Congress want severe punishment because the South was unwilling to follow their perspective. Although in the end, compromise is what postponed the war and continued slavery for a long time. So would compromise have really been the right strategy? And that sort of leads us to our final. Now, many of you probably believe that the Civil War was highly justified. I mean, the results of the Civil War are you can't even quantify them. The fact that we kept the Union together, that there's never been an insurrection since then, the fact that slavery was ended, there's so many positives that came out of the Civil War. Obviously, there were a lot of deaths, and it was a long suffering period in American history. But were those deaths justified? Now, you might argue with me, well, obviously, war is always justified, right? We have to remember the people who died. I'm not exactly asking you, were the deaths, should we remember the deaths and the hard labor and the tasks that our soldiers did? Because obviously, that's always something that we should honor and remember. And that soldiers are not necessarily always given a choice as to where they're going to fight, how they're going to fight. They're following orders for their country. That's not really what this paper is about. This paper is, from a socio-political standpoint, was the Civil War justified? Was the way that it was handled justified by both North and South? Were there other ways that this could have played out besides the violence and the continuation of war? So it's really something for you to think about personally, but I want you to use evidence. And as I've been saying all semester long, the best papers are those that use evidence to support your argument. And the best papers that use multiple sources of evidence, not just the book. I know many of you like using outside sources. And I know there's a variety of reasons why. Some, they're just written in an easier way for you to understand. Some are written, they clearly tell you the answer. They're sort of like the answer to your question online already. I really want you to make an attempt to use what I give you, because what I'm giving you is scholarly work. And this is a college class. There's a lot to be known, popular understanding of the Civil War, and that's great. I want you to leave the class with an interest in maybe learning more about the Civil War. And popular fiction and popular reading is really the best way to do that if you're not a history person. In terms of a class, though, I'd like you to make use of the most effective scholarly research. And that's why I try to give you the best resources each week in those folders. And you may think that YouTube clips are not scholarly research, but I try to select YouTube clips that are based on scholarly research. And you'll notice that most of them were produced by the National Parks Association, by the Civil War Trust, which is highly rooted in scholarship. When you just randomly search online on YouTube, you find hundreds of high school students making Civil War videos, which may have been based on scholarly research, but really I've tried to select the best for you to help you the most to understand what's going on. Some may have been confusing, but sometimes confusing is good. Sometimes confusing makes you work a little harder to really understand, yes, I understand this from my point of view, and I understand what this person's trying to say. So as you're writing your final, keep all these things in mind. The final is due on Thursday, August 15th by 11:59. That is the last time I can accept it. If you're going to have a problem getting me the final for whatever reason, please let me know now so that we can work something out. But if I don't hear from you, Thursday at 11:59 is the last day I can accept. Second thing I'll say is not everybody has submitted all their papers yet, even going back to the first paper. Some people are still missing it. And although maybe it's closed off online to submit those papers, I will begrudgingly still accept those papers. The point of, I think, of this course is to introduce you to a lot of the topics and let you have time to reflect on it. And if you couldn't reflect on it because your work schedules were in the way, I still want to give you some credit. I still want to give you some ability to pass the course, so obviously you don't have to repeat it. So take my advice and please email me and let me know what you want to do. Even though the papers will be heavily penalized, a heavily penalized paper towards a final grade is better than a 0. So keep that in mind. And that's not to say that most of you have been doing your assignments on time and doing a great job. And I've gotten back to you the majority of your assignments with a few things left to grade and to submit back to you, but your final grades will be delivered to you before they're posted on the Wentworth website. And I'll be emailing those out after I get your final. So if you email me your final early, then I'll be sending you your final grade for the course early. Beyond that, I hope you've enjoyed the course. If you have any questions, please let me know. A little plug, if you want to do your survey, I'm sure you've gotten an email about doing the course review online. If you would take a couple minutes and fill that review out and put down any suggestions that you have in order to change the course, anything that you feel that you were unclear with the course, anything that I can do to improve the course, will be very helpful to me and to the school. As for this course, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found something interesting about it, and I hope it wasn't too painful. I know it was a lot of work for some of you. I know many of you were in other courses, and you have your jobs and you have your lives. But I've tried to be reasonable. Sometimes I didn't get everything into you on time. Sometimes you didn't get things into me on time. I've tried to give and take, and I don't think I've held anything against anybody, which is really the way that I felt this course was very democratic. Your discussion boards have been great. I really enjoyed talking to some of you one-on-one, and I hope you've enjoyed the structure of the course. So as for now, please let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, if I don't talk to you again or see you in another course, good luck with your degrees, good luck with your careers, and let me know if I can ever help you in the future. Thanks.